Hello guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm ranking all 8 of Stranger Things 1 episodes. And obviously I mentioned I'm not going to release as many videos because of a high school test coming up soon. I've explained that in this video right here. So yeah, so stuff to do. She-Hulk review, I'm going to watch it probably after I finish editing this video. And then I'm going to review it then probably Saturday or Sunday. And then Monday. And then probably I might do Stranger Things Season 2 stuff. And then I'm going to rank all the MCU shows, and then I'm going to go back to the Harry Potter stuff before I do season. I don't know. I have a bit of a plan for doing this, but I kind of explained it, but then I forgot about the She-Hulk stuff that I have to do, so that's going to be there. And then I'm also going to I'm going to binge through, probably after I watch season 3 of Stranger Things, I'm probably going to binge through Miss Marvel just fast so I can rank all the shows, which I still haven't watched it, and I might get a little review. I don't know. We'll figure something out. So without further ado, let's get into this video. Coming in the last place is going to be Chapter 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. I got my list on my phone. So, as you can see, I got my list on my phone. So, yeah, there you go. Anyway, so in last place is Chapter 2, The Weirdo on Maple Street. I just don't think this episode is as exciting as a lot of the later episodes got to be. And it sort of keeps setting the world that this town is in. It starts to develop Hopper a bit. You see Eleven interacting with kids and Mike, Lucas, and Dustin. And I think there's some fun to be had with that. And so overall, I still really like this episode. I think the should I stay or should I go scene where the monsters kind of keep creeping in through the wall. Very creepy scene. I think very good, well done. But overall, I just don't think this episode was as exciting as the later. It wasn't as exciting as the show got to be. So it's still a good episode, but I just don't think it's as good as a lot of the later ones. Coming in at number 7 is going to be episode 1, chapter 1, The Vanishing of Will Byers. I think that's what it's called. So this episode, it sets up right away. They're a bunch of friends. There's this monster out there. They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. They head home. Will goes missing, and then it sparks this whole town-wide mystery. It's not a big town, and it's very well known that everyone knows about it, sort of. So, and the way it plays out this episode, it just immediately kicks right into gear. It doesn't waste any time. It sets up a couple characters here and there, but they really set up all the characters, specifically Will's mom, through the vanishing of Will, and I think it just makes everything really interesting. Because, right off the bat, this world is getting introduced. There's all these creepy things out there. This might be it's not told whether Will's dead or not. So, overall, really good episode. Great start to the show. And the way everyone's reacting to it is interesting. It also introduces this 11 character who has these force abilities or sort of molecular kinesis or whatever you call it. So, that just sparks a ton of intrigue. And overall, it just really starts, and you're just excited to see where the show goes from here. So, great premiere. Coming in at number 6 is going to be Chapter 6, The Monster. The problem with this episode, I think a lot of the later episodes just got to be really exciting and just filled with so much tension and suspense that this episode, it just wasn't as exciting compared to all of the other ones, specifically like episode 4, 5, 7, and 8. It feels like more of the call before the storm episode, but I think there's a lot of good things that happen for it. This is really when Steve really learns his lesson. He gets punched by John, and this is really when he stops being jerk Steve and starts becoming the hero that we know him to be, especially as we go into season 2. And that's all really fun. So, and also the Nancy and John going through the Upside Down, I thought that was interesting. I think this is the episode. Is this the episode where the children? I think yeah. But I think part of the problem is this is the episode where the children I think go off in the forest, and I think that stuff is kind of what really bothered me a bit. And it just wasn't the most interesting stuff. And I was just okay, we're following them. Oh wait, that bully shows with a knife. So even after they made him pee his pants in the last episode, it's okay, that's a bit much. I mean, I understand they're full-on bullies, but even the other friend was maybe we shouldn't do this. So, great episode still. Really enjoyed it. You're still interested, but the problem with is this episode is that episode 5 kind of set in point that Will is blocked off. He's alive. And this really is kind of the setup for what happens in the last 2 episodes. So, as I said, it's the calm before the storm kind of episode. So, still, great episode. But it's just not as I said, kind of like episode 2, it's not as exciting as the rest of the show. Coming in number 5 is, this is when this really started to get really good, and that's chapter 3, Holly Jolly. I really like this one. Great episode. The Hopper stuff where he's investigating Hawkins' lab sparks a bunch of intrigue. You learn a bit more about Eleven's backstory. I didn't really mention that about episode 2, but still, you learn you learn a bit more about that, and also Nancy's trying to find Barb, which sparks a bit of an interesting plot line, and also kind of continues in season 2 quite a bit. So there's that. There's also the children sort of going to look after find Will, but then only to realize that there's a body in the lake that the police have found, which sparks a very interesting cliffhanger leading into the next episode, and the fact that they're not willing to accept that Will is dead. So just sparks a bunch of interesting plot lines. Really enjoy this episode. It's fun, it's enjoyable, as Mike is sort of showing Eleven around a bit more, and there's just a lot of fun to be had with this one. And also we learn that Will is still kind of alive because they're communicating with the lights, and also that leads back in the first episode where Will got kind of sucked through the light, sort of. Just kind of an interesting way of leading through things. And it's just all really interesting. So overall, I did really enjoy this episode. So comes in at number 5, but I don't think it's higher, just because I think it just, once we kind of learn finally what was going on, I just think the show just got to such a high level of excitement. And this is kind of before that, so really, that's why it's just lower. But great episode. Number 4 is going to be Chapter 4, The Body. This is where the show really kicks into high gear, as Hopper sort of steps in and tries to breaks into Hawkins' lab to see what's actually up with Will's body. We learn that Will's actually alive through that whole bit with the Upside Down, where Joyce is communicating with him for a while. This is also the episode, I think, where the letters go up. This is in episode 3, kind of when they start to go up mostly. And that's all interesting, I'd say. Also, this the whole plot line where the kids are absolutely refusing to accept that he's dead. Interesting, I'd say, for the most part. And overall, I think this is a really well-handled episode. There was nothing I really disliked about it. The only real issues, I just don't think it was as memorable as the show eventually got, specifically in the later episodes. And there was not that many moments, besides the whole bit where Joyce is figuring out that Will is alive. Besides that whole moment, there's not that much memorable stuff. This is also the episode with Jonathan and Nancy kind of get together and learn that there's this monster throughout the Upside Down, which, interesting. And overall, just a well-handled episode. I thought this one was really good, and I think the show gets even better from here. So, fantastic episode. A lot of the Eleven stuff, whenever we get those scenes where we're learning about Eleven, that's all interesting. So, yeah, really enjoyed this one. Number 3 is going to be Chapter 5, The Acrobat and the Flea. Or Flea, I don't know what the name is. It's a long name. Anyway, really enjoyed this episode. A lot of fun things that happen. The children plot line where they're going off the forest and Eleven's not giving them the right direction. The way everything plays out, it's just like, come on, really? You had to throw this in. It was just not the most interesting stuff. This in episode 6 are really when you get to start to see all the more of the backstory behind how the Upside Down got there, and what was going on, how Hawkins' lab and all the people were experimenting on Eleven and sort of that. And that was all really interesting. I loved all of those moments. So that was all great. I think the Hopper stuff where this is really, really finally his character arc starts to really kind of come up a bit, where after he learns that that body is fake or is a dummy or something, and not fake obviously. So yeah, there's that, and then there's also the plot line with Jonathan and Nancy going through to the forest to go kill the monster, and then this is really when we discover that there's this Upside Down, there's this otherly universe, or this is when we discover the Upside Down, more or less, and that all is real. I think that's all really interesting. The child plotline I'm not a big fan of, which is kind of what hurts the episode a little bit, but really it's the Nancy and Jonathan stuff. As we learn that the Upside Down, there's just a whole bunch of intrigue that just pops right in your mind, and that's what I really like. And also gives us more of the 11 backstory probably, and how the Upside Down was created. So yeah, really good episode. Loved it. My runner-up is episode 7, the bathtub. This is when we learn that Barb is dead, as 11 sort of communicates to find Will through the Upside Down. It just leads to a bunch of interesting scenarios at the school. And also, there's obviously all the moments when you have the cop people or the Hawkins lab people going after 11, trying to kill her or reobtain her, and that's all interesting. The whole bit where she gets the little action sequence at the beginning of the episode where she flips the truck back great bit, and just very well handled. As Hopper sort of throughout episode 5 and 6, he's like learning to realizing that there's this whole supernatural thing, and as he goes into this, you really see like a full character coming around from this like small town cop that's just annoyed and depressed to really seeing all of the incredible but horrifying stuff there. So all very great, and how Joyce is kind of able, the little relationship we get between Joyce and Eleven there is just actually kind of interesting to think about, because I didn't really think about it much until like right now, because I don't know, it was just a little interesting. So there's that. Obviously there's the setup for Nancy and Jonathan going to kill the monster in the house, which leads into the finale really well. That's all great. It just knows how to. It's not like Mandalorian episode 7 and 8, how they each of them that episode 7 really sets up episode 8 and how they both lead into each other. Just very well done. Thought this episode was fantastic and leads on the finale so well. But coming in on my number 1 is episode 8 or chapter 8, The Upside Down. This was obviously the finale. This is when all of the payoff, all the stuff we've been comes to a very amazing and satisfying payoff. I'm looking at all the stuff with 11 and kind of taking down the upside or the Hawkins lab people. Very satisfying. But I think really what puts this episode really number 1 is really the backstory for Hopper as his child dies of this disease. I don't know if it's cancer, but something, or heart attack, or what, I don't know. I'm not 100% sure. So dies of that. It's just heartbreaking, tragic, and realize how he really came around full circle in a way, sort of. So that was fantastic. Reminded me a little bit of the Snape backstory in Deathly Hallows Part 2, just a little bit. The way it was structured was obviously very different, but it kind of reminded me a little bit of that. So all great. Loved all of that stuff. Obviously, you have Joyce and Hopper going into the Upside Down to find Will. We learn that Barbara is dead, but then it's just all the satisfaction you get when we learn that Will is alive, and we're bringing him back to the real world. All great. Steve is not really a jerk anymore, which I think is a nice little circle come around for him, and especially as it leads into season 2, where him and Dustin form a little bro-ship or bromance, if you want to call it. All great. But overall, just a fantastic episode. I thought I wouldn't change anything about it. Everything was handled so well. And all the action bits are fantastic when they need to be the sort of cliffhanger involving Will leading into season 2. And I think one of my favorite things about season 2 so far is how it kind of came off from season 1. It set up a bunch of great cliffhangers that led to season 2, and how Will is definitely not going to be the same that he was before he went in the Upside Down. So sets up all of those plot lines so well done, so fantastic. I thought this was a fantastic finale, and I wouldn't change anything to that. I thought this was like a legit 10 out of 10 episode. It was amazing. I was hooked all the way through. It had all the fun bits when it needed to, had the humor when it needed to. The one thing I'm not crazy about is the whole bit where Mike actually full on kisses 11 without consent. That was odd, and it didn't really feel like, it just felt like a plot line that was just kind of thrown in there at the last second, and it didn't quite work. It didn't exactly make sense. So overall, very well handled episode. I thought it was great, and it had the funny moments when Evie had the satisfying payoff moments. It had the tension filled moments. Just a fantastic episode, and it really led up so well, and this comes in at number 1. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and comment down below, and I'll see you guys next time. Yeah, as I said, share your rank in the comments below. Be on the lookout for She-Hulk content, more Stranger Things content, Fantastic Beasts reviews, more of them, I guess. So yeah, adios.